Welcome to Focus 54. My name is Jeffrey Mrimbechi, and as you know by now, the Sadc region is abuzz with a lot of news and a lot of good and positive news coming out of the 44th Sadc Summit. And we shine a light on the Southern African Development Community that convened in Zimbabwe for quite a long time with the various discussions. We had the youth coming through, we had the businesses coming through, banks, and finally the heads of state. And the penultimate glory for Zimbabwe was President Emmerson Mnangagwa taking the reign as the new Sadc chairman. Now, for economic growth and regional integration to security challenges, global health concerns, President E.D. Mnangagwa has a busy year ahead, but he won't be working alone. He has got a team, he's got a vision, and the collaboration with other countries to make this through. We'll be joined, in fact, we are joined to discuss the key points and to try to summarize this colossal juggernaut of what we call the 44th Sadc Summit with two fine gentlemen who are joining me in studio today, Enoch Rukwara, and a political analyst, as well as Takuzwa Gambiza. Gentlemen, welcome to Focus 54.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff, for having us.
We had a lot of things to talk about coming from the Sadc Summit, and I think the most important one, the first one we'll discuss is the issue of economic growth and collaborative efforts among member states, particularly talking about free trade area agreements. In your opinion, why is economic growth viewed as the cornerstone of reducing poverty within the Sadc region, especially in times when we then face El Nino, induced droughts, and other things that are beyond our control?
Thank you very much, Jeff. So when you look at economic growth, you realize that it entails increase in production, whether it's in agriculture, mining, or construction. It also entails increase in income levels. So when you've got a situation whereby production is increasing within an economy, what it means is that it's creating employment along the way. And when there's employment, there's food on the table for our rural people. There's also goods and services within our shops. So in a way, this reduces poverty within the region.
Now, Takuzwa, I will throw this one at you as well, the economic side of things. From the discussions and the summaries that we had from the summit, are the members in the right political frame and positivity to say, as a bloc, this is where we want to go, collaborating economically so that each country alleviates poverty and things like that?
Thank you so much, Jeff. I think the 44th Summit brought about an interesting theme where industrialization was a key talking point amongst member states or during the Sadc Summit. So I think the regional body and its members, the tendency of the heads of state was quite huge, quite impressive, if I may put it across. Only 3 heads of state did not manage to come, but they sent high-level delegations. So this speaks volumes to the agenda that Sadc is taking and how they are interested in development. Because remember, the theme was premised much on industrialization, whereby the regional body is now speaking towards innovative ways of growing the economy as we are moving away from the traditional means of industrialization or of doing things in an economy. So the heads of state and also the member states, if I may put it like that, the member states are now in agreement that as a region, we need to move forward. We need to alleviate, because the impact of the El Nino-induced drought brought about the realization that we're not moving fast enough as a region. So this was a learning curve, because if you look at the discussions that were held from the industrialization week up to the final segment of the summit where the head of states met, there was this consensus that there is need to transform the economies of the region in a collaborative manner, and also as a region at large, going back to speaking to the agenda of why SADC was formed, to develop the economies and to grow them. Because when the economy grows, it means more opportunities are availed for its people, such that as a region, we don't continuously depend on one source of business or of income generating, like the agro-based economies. Because now, where there is an El Nino drought, if the economy is only reliant on agriculture, then we have a crisis in the region like what we have now. So I think the heads of state, in their engagement, and also their ministers in their engagements, they managed to deliberate quite a lot on these aspects.
You know, the new Sadc chair, President Mnangagwa, spoke, I will, paraphrase and quote him, say that we need to get away from the donor mentality or the dependency syndrome on people coming to save Africans. The discussion of free trade, African continental free trade areas and its challenge. What headway was made from the 44th SADC Summit? I did speak previously on one of our programs to one of the traders who was in the Industrialization Week, talking about sometimes it's difficult to move goods from country A through country B to country C. Have we made headway, or is there statements of intent to say these free trade areas are now going to become a closer reality?
Thank you very much, Jeff, for that. I think the intent and also the policy frameworks, it's clear enough for us and for everyone, for the region to see. I think the building blocks that we then need to put as a country and also as a region, you need to look at what are the enablers that ensures that the free trade within the region is something which is seamless, it's something which is efficient, and it's something that can be followed up. You look at transport connectivity, areas to do with infrastructure development. We believe that these are some of the areas that needs to be spruced up to ensure that if you want to transport your maize, let's say from Zambia to Zimbabwe, it's something which is seamless. So you need to have a road network which is very efficient. Look at areas like network connectivity. It is another area again which needs also to have some enhancements to ensure that if there's going to be free trade within the region, we know that there is efficiency within that particular setup. You can also look at areas to do with energy. It's something that has also been hindering the region in as far as trying to transform economic growth and also transform or promoting trade. It is an area that we believe that if the member states do collaborate and come up with measures that ensures that they increased power production, whether we are saying that we're going to mobilize resources within the region, create a power station, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's in Botswana or Zambia, and that power station then increases to the broader or aggregate power production within the region. That would ensure that there is also seamless trade within the region. I think there are some boxes that we obviously have to tick, but it is clear that the framework is there. What needs to happen is the implementation part, where we are saying, okay, where do we start from? What next step should we take, and how do we ensure that when we then go into full force implementation of free trade within the region, we are very sure that there is going to be efficiency within the system.
Well, gentlemen, just to close off the economic side of things, I think in layman's terms, and especially traders and business people, when they see heads of states and different countries coming together, they believe agreements are signed and done as quickly as the transaction is done in the trading floor. The reason why I'm saying this is that I need to know from you if, with what Enoch has just said, is it going to be immediate change, or this is the beginning of gradual progress that we'll see, bit by bit as time moves on?
Thank you, Jeff. I would want to believe that this will be gradual. This is the beginning of a process. Why do I say so? When it comes to creating free trade zones, what you also need to what also comes to mind, and also what we need to understand is you can't just open your borders and say we are going for free trade. Are the fundamentals in place in each and every individual country? Because when it comes to free trade, you also need to understand that which commodities are going to come in, and are they going to offer competitive pricing in your country? Because you're looking at, let's take for instance our own country, where I would say our production cost is a bit high because our industry is a bit backward. That's why His Excellency President Mnangagwa is always saying we need to leapfrog our industrialization process in Zimbabwe, because he is quite aware that we have been backward for quite some time due to many factors, one of them being the sanctions. So now, if we are going to move towards free trade, we need to have a process whereby we also catch up such that our products as well become competitive in the region, so that we don't continue to just be a dump site for other countries' commodities, because this will definitely destroy our own industry in Zimbabwe, so in other country in the region, because there are countries like South Africa who have a very competitive economy and industry, and their industry can easily take over the region. So you need individual members to then say, if we are to sign these agreements, we will sign based on the benefit that it will bring to your own country, because you don't want to suffocate your industry and you destroy your economy for the sake of regional integration and coming up with these free trade agreements. So these agreements, what I would want to do is to call upon individual leaders of these different countries or member states to say, identify key economic areas in each and every country whereby we can add value, can quickly add value and transform them into becoming competitive members. And also, we also need, another thing that we need to understand, Jeff, is the fact that who is running the industry in different member countries, who has the means of production? Are these countries being run locally or by international cooperative?
This is where I wanted to take the next direction, because you mentioned two things. I know for economic free trade areas to work, you need certain foundations. Now, the Sadc region has not been immune to issues that affect everyone. As we get into the next segment, we will discuss the issue of security, the effects of sanctions on member states, and how the discussions that were made on the 44th Sadc Summit in Zimbabwe are there to alleviate and find solutions to that. Stay tuned to Focus 54. We'll be back and we'll be talking about security concerns within the Sadc region. Welcome back to Focus 54, and we're breaking down the 44th Sadc Summit, which was just recently held in Zimbabwe. Gentlemen, we're talking about the security concerns. We have a few disturbances in eastern DRC and the north of Mozambique, for example. How is the region putting models in place to make sure that these conflicts and some of these conflict zones are safer?
Thanks, Jeff, for that. I think the biggest solution, or one of the solutions that we can employ as SADC, is to really come up with a security force that represents the region as a whole, where if there's going to be a disturbance, an uprising, whether it's going to be in Zambia or Botswana, you are guaranteed that this security force is going to come in and also ensure that there is normalcy within that particular jurisdiction. Another way that we can also look at it from a SADC perspective is to have an effective model whereby if there's going to be an uprising, we quickly mobilize a security force or an army of some sort which can then deal with that uprising. If those measures are in place and the implementation thereof is being followed, you realize that the possibility or the potential of these uprisings will be curtailed. Then another last item that we can also look at is issues to do with the source of the problem. When you then look at these rebel movements, uprising, social unrest, the biggest source of that is control of natural resources. If you've got a natural resource management system which is very solid and robust within the region, that ensures that there's transparency in the management of resources. There's also security. Everyone is happy in terms of the control, the use, and the application thereof. I think it's something that we need as a region to ensure that there is seamless and there is peace within the region that ensures that the trade that we are talking about, it's something that will be effective in addressing economic growth and also economic development.
Takuzwa, we know that countries such as Zimbabwe have battled with sanctions for more than 2 decades. How has this affected the solidarity of Zimbabwe, as an example, and how has this affected other member states when you've got certain countries with illegally imposed sanctions on them?
Jeff, what I understand about sanctions is the mechanism that is used by the powerful to try and manipulate the smaller countries into doing their bidding. So we are not excused from this type of manipulation because remember, these sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe, they're illegal because they were not sanctioned by the United Nations. They are unilateral in nature, and they were meant to foster regime change in Zimbabwe. So now what this has effectively done is you have realized that there are certain leaders since backwards who have also been manipulated through the use of those sanctions to try and undermine the leadership in Zimbabwe. These are members in the Sadc region. We saw this during Ian Khama's time in Botswana. He also had this agenda because of his probably linkage with the crown in the United Kingdom. So this has always been affecting the region, but now I've realized that the region has also come to its senses, whereby there is immense solidarity amongst
Should we call it African consciousness?
Yes, I think this has brought about African consciousness and patriotism and Pan-Africanism as well, because Sadc for the first time has a day dedicated to denounce sanctions on Zimbabwe, which is the 25th of October each and every year. So this has brought about solidarity because they've realized that injury to one is injury to all. So the region cannot move if Zimbabwe continues to be suffocated by these sanctions. So now there is this solidarity, but however, I still feel that it's not enough. Sadc needs to do more to try and fight these sanctions, to bust these sanctions on Zimbabwe. Because if Zimbabwe continues to have this weight on its shoulders, they are also affecting the region. Because remember, Zimbabwe should be the transit route for Africa.
We're pretty much at the crossroads of trade and everything.
In our circles, we enjoy calling it's a land-linked country.
Land-linked country.
Yes.
Now, the reason why I want us to hold on that one, because we've got 2 more things that we need to discuss. As a land-linked country, and with the collaboration we're finding within Sadc, there's the issue of health, how we alleviate pandemics, Sadc's readiness as member states when we get crises. Remember, we've just survived COVID-19, and now there's Mpox, which is another threat that is threatening the whole of the African region. We'll take a break one more time, and when we come back, we want to talk about how prepared Sadc nations, member states are in terms of pandemics and health crises. And we discuss what it really means to become the Sadc chairperson or the Sadc chair, and how leadership is very important as we attain Vision 2030. We take a short break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome to the third and final segment of Focus 54. We are talking about the 44th Sadc Summit, the discussions that we've had, and the outcomes of the Sadc Summit. And Takuzu, I throw this one back at you. In terms of the preparedness of member states, they discussed the issue of, collaboration when it comes to health crises and things like that. How prepared are Sadc nations to fight against pandemics and to collaboratively go against certain pandemics as one?
Well, I would want to say the region is not yet prepared to deal with especially emergency health pandemics. Like what we saw during COVID, we saw President Mnangagwa in Zimbabwe showing leadership. Zimbabwe became one of the fastest vaccinated population in the region and in Africa. So he showed leadership during this time, but I also feel that the region needs to do more in terms of innovation. We need to find solutions to these pandemics. We know the type of pandemics that affect the region more, like the likes of malaria, cholera. We need to be more prepared. Yes, we would like to celebrate how cholera was dealt with in the recent past, like the pandemic that took lives in Zambia. It was dealt with in a collaborative manner, and even Sadc applauded the efforts that were done by Zambia and Zimbabwe in eradicating cholera. But I think more still needs to be done and more can be done, especially if the leadership continues to put collaborative efforts. Jeff.
I like that you've spoken about leadership, and I think I'll throw this one at you first. Let's talk about the role of the chairperson. And the chairperson of Sadc right now is the Zimbabwean President Mnangagwa. Speaking about his leadership style, his achievements and what he's done in Zimbabwe, how can he influence the agenda of Sadc during his tenure so that it translates into something collective, especially with its objectives and policies and some of the outcomes? How can the Zimbabwean president's influence and his leadership style move Sadc forward?
Thanks, Jeff. That's very fundamental. When you then look at the success of our Honorable President, President Mnangagwa, you realize that he has been very good in terms of policy priority. When you look at how we have transformed, how we have developed in terms of road construction, in terms of agricultural development and also agricultural support, you'd realize that there was priority, which is a key fundamental that is needed within the region if we are to move forward, if you want to ensure that we're moving from one step to the other. I think it's one takeaway that we can then pick from his leadership qualities and style. The second aspect that is really key that we can really borrow as a region from President ED is the issue to do with diplomatic relations. He's someone who has been very passionate about diplomatic relations, and these diplomatic relations transcends into the relations and cooperation within the member states. If there's going to be effective cooperation, you realize that in terms of achieving much, there's going to be a lot of progress. So if we are to adopt these two key fundamentals, the issue to do with policy prioritization, to issue to do with diplomatic relations, these are key fundamentals and these are key inputs that are needed within the regions to ensure that there is progress economically, socially, and also politically.
Takuzwa, how do we bring about more effectiveness within this year of Sadc with so many outcomes and so many goals clearly defined? How do we make the Sadc Secretariat as well more effective?
Well, the first thing that I would like to see is the Sadc Secretariat showing initiative, communicating, doing extensive public lectures, because what I've realized is a lot of our people do not understand the agenda and the role that Sadc plays. And I think that is obligation of the SADC Secretariat, since they do the day-to-day running. They need to do more so that the citizens of SADC understand the role that SADC plays. Because SADC leadership and Secretariat cannot survive alone, because they need their citizens to understand them such that they also get feedback, and also they get the relationship has to be transactional after understanding one another. Because our majority of the citizens, Jeff, surprisingly, do not understand what SADC stands for. That's why you saw people wanted to demonstrate against SADC. They don't know the beauty that it brings to you as a people, how much it looks at policy initiatives and how it seeks to transform your livelihoods. People do not understand what SADC stands for. People think that SADC is there to interfere in national issues, but SADC is there to collaborate the region and to focus the region towards a certain direction.
So it does not taint the sovereignty of each member
Yes,
state?
it does not attack the sovereignty of member states. It actually enhances the sovereignty, the security, and also the peace and development of its member states. But now the Secretariat has to do more to communicate to the citizens. I think they should introduce within the region public lectures, probably in each and every university, and also in each and every member state, to communicate the role of SADC, and also to get feedback from the people so that they also improve. It will also improve SADC as a regional body. And one thing that we should be proud of as citizens of SADC is the most stable and peaceful region in Africa.
Yes,
so
indeed.
we want, under the stewardship and leadership of President Mnangagwa, we want that to be communicated across Africa, and also to further consolidate that peace and also the democratic nature in SADC, where there's always continuous transition of power through the ballot and through democratic processes. This is done mainly in Southern Africa. Jeff, thank you.
Enoch and Takuzwa, gentlemen, we would have gone for another hour discussing the greatness of what the SADC region is all about. But let's do something that we've never really done on Focus 54. A lot of the times I am asked where to find our guests. If you gentlemen are available on social media, people can follow you and throw in a few extra questions. And ideally, it's a very interactive show. Would also like to give people feedback on some of those topical issues. I'll start with Enoch.
Thank you very much, Jeff. So for myself, it's Enoch Rukarwa, separate words, for all social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, it's TikTok, or it's LinkedIn. So it's Enoch Rukarwa. Then my cell number, if you'd like to call, it's 0777 193053.
And Takuzwa?
Yes, you will find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as Takuzwa Gambiza, plain like that. I will not be sharing my cell phone number as a preserve for the wife at home. So I think those are the most platforms that are used to interact in our political analysis and understanding each other. So it's a friendly platform. I share my views because I also have views beyond this platform. So anyone who disagrees, they share with their views, I hope, in an amicable manner, because we are all citizens of the Republic of Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And above all of this, we are citizens of this lovely continent with 54 countries called Africa. And that wraps up at the end of Focus 54. Give us your thoughts and feedback on our social media handles, especially the big one at ZBC News Online on Facebook, as well as Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Name a platform and we're available. For Focus 54, I am Jeffrey Mnangagwa. Catch me on the next episode.